Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. So we have got ourselves a hamper of grapes and we are going to make ourselves some grape juice today. So we only need about 25 pounds for this recipe. So we're gonna go through, we wanna take them all off the stems, get rid of these green ones, make sure everything is all individual, different. My dogs aren't eating grapes, just so everybody's aware. And we are going to get them all washed up and then measure out 25 pounds and then we will get started on this recipe. Okay, so I've added all of my stemmed and washed grapes just here into a big stock pot. Now you are going to want to crush those grapes. A potato masher works just fantastic. A metal one is the best. I'm going to use a plastic one, so everyone wish me well. I'm going to do it off camera so you guys don't see a situation, but show you what it looks like when you're done. So you're just going to mash these all up. And it might be better when you're working with a huge pot like this, because let's be honest, this isn't going to go all the way to the bottom, to work in batches on the side in a little separate bowl and then add them to the stock pot. So when we are done that, I will show you what it looks like. So I've got my grapes all crushed up here. I have put them in the pot on the stove. So I ended up using my hands to help crush some of them, if that helps anybody. Just crush them all up. And now I am going to boil some water, whether that's on the stove, in a kettle, whatever that looks like, just enough to have about an inch or two of water over top of our mixture here, because we just want everything submerged and covered. But we don't want to actually dilute this juice. So I will show you what that looks like in just a minute. Okay, so you see how there's some sticking up. So now you're gonna just want to take that boiling water, see how they're now pretty much all submerged now. So now we are going to turn our stove onto a high until we get it to a boil. So it's going to take probably 10-15 minutes in a pot this big to see a boil. And then once we do, keep stirring it every once in a while so nothing's burning to the bottom. Once it does get to a boil, and I will show you what that looks like, then you boil it for about 15 minutes. And then once 15 minutes has passed, we'll turn it down to a simmer and do for another 15 minutes, so it's a half an hour total. So let's get this up to a boil and then we'll start our timer. Okay, so we are done boiling and simmering it down. As you can see, we have quite a drop down. But at this point, we are going to strain our liquid from from the leftover skins and seeds. So you are going to need either a big bowl with a cheesecloth on top in order to strain it to. You can use a strainer or you can use a jelly bag. I have a nice big turkey strainer, so I'm just going to put that actually over my turkey pan just to save face and make sure that it drains. We're going to drain that in there, and then you're going to let it sit and continuously drip and drain for at least 2 hours. I'm going to leave mine for a few, and then at that point you're going to want to take whatever pan you have, whatever you've dripped into, take away your strainer, your cheesecloth, whatever you have, just put a piece of saran wrap over top and throw it in the fridge. And we're going to throw it in there for 24 to 48 hours, so a day or two. So I'm going to get this strained. I'm going to do that off camera so I don't kill myself, and I will show you what it looks like and we'll go from there. Just a side note, be very careful. This liquid is boiling hot, so just make sure that your strainer or your cheesecloth, whatever you're using, is intact and ready to have all of that weight on it and it's not going to splash everywhere. I would suggest doing it with a friend or somebody that you can, just to make sure they're holding the strainer so that nobody gets burnt and you don't lose all of that time and energy. I ended up switching to a stock pot because it was easier to do than the turkey pan. I had more liquid than I thought. But anyways, as you can see, you get the gist of it. We're letting this, it's all of it. We're going to let this juice, because as you can see, it just keeps coming and coming. So a couple of hours, every once in a while, if you go in, just push down a little bit, more liquid's going to come out. We're getting every little bit of this liquid out. So while it's waiting, you can decide whether you want to make grape juice or grape jelly. So you can use this juice to make jelly with later. So at the end of this process, we are going to add sugar to our taste because we're making just straight juice. But if you wanted to make jelly, you would take this liquid and you're going to use it in the jelly recipe, which would be your pectin and your sugar. But anyways, we're just focusing on juice today. But here we are. Homemade juice, step 1. See you in a couple hours, and we're just gonna throw this in the fridge. Okay, so the juice has been sitting in the fridge for a couple days. Now we are going to do the last most, hard step, and it's called decanting the juice. So basically, we are taking the juice that's been sitting for a couple days, and we are going to ladle it through a really fine meshed sieve or a cheesecloth lined sieve. If you have a jelly bag, you can do it that way. I do not. And you're basically going to take it now at the bottom of this, there's going to be sediment at the bottom of your juice because everything has fallen to the bottom. We don't want to disturb that, so we're doing it really lightly, and we're taking our juice and into a new container. So most people do it in a bowl. I happen to have another pot, so it's perfect for me. We are ladling it through there. And what this is going to do is it's going to take the crystals out of the juice. So basically when you let it sit, it's crystallizing, and we don't want that into our juice when we can it up. So this is basically, like I said, filtering that out. And then once this is full, we're going to throw it on the stove. So I'm going to do this off camera, and then I will show you what it looks like when we're done and finish this off. So just to show you at the bottom, we got this far. And now you can really start to see that sediment at the bottom. It's like a lot of crab. It almost looks like there's little bits of tin foil in it, but it's not. It's the crystallization of the berries. So we're gonna call it here, and we're gonna get the actual juice that we've got out, and we're gonna go throw that on the stove. Okay, so we've got our juice on the stove. We're gonna put this to a medium-high heat. We do not want this to boil, we just wanna keep it warm. We're gonna keep it at about 190 degrees. So I do have a thermometer, which I am going to watch. So once it gets around 190 degrees Fahrenheit, we're gonna keep it there for about 5 minutes, and that's when we're gonna add our sugar. So I would do a taste test now, just to see how you think it is. So some people obviously like their juice sweeter than others, so you're gonna add sugar accordingly. So I've got a pot that's about half full, so I'm just gonna add 1 cup at a time over the course of that 5 minutes to see if I want it sweeter or less sweet. You don't obviously wanna add too much sugar at once because you can't take the sugar away once it's in there, so you're gonna wanna slowly add it. So again, we're gonna watch our temperature. So right now it's nice and cool. We've got it at 58 degrees, so we've got quite a while to go here. So once it gets there, like I said, 190 degrees for 5 minutes, and you might have to adjust the temperature on your stove to keep it consistently at 190 degrees, and add that sugar, keep taste testing it until you get it to where you want it. In the meantime, I've got my water bath canner going and getting up to a boil. I've got my jar sterilizing, my lids going, so everything is ready to go once this is ready. Okay, so we're at 190 degrees. So I have taste tested the juice. It's tasting good. It's a slight tart, so I'm gonna add 1 cup just to kind of cut through the tartness of those grapes, but otherwise it's actually pretty sweet. They were just picked off the vine before I started making this. So once you've added the sugar, you're just gonna wanna stir it and make sure that sugar doesn't burn to the bottom. So we're gonna, like I said, keep it consistently at 190 degrees for about 5 minutes, and then we are simply going to can it up and let her go. So I've turned off the heat, and at this point we are going to ladle our hot grape juice into our jars, and you're going to leave about ½ inch of headspace. Now I am doing pint jars. You can do pints, you can do your gallon jars, the quarts. That's up to you. but we are going to continue to ladle these in, and then you're going to wipe the rim before you put before you put the lid on, sorry. And then you're going to put the band on fingertip tight. You don't want to over tighten it because it might siphon inside of the canner. So whether you're doing the pints or the quart jars, you are going to process these in the bubbling canner for 15 minutes. So I will show you what this looks like when we're done.